Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be going over the biggest thing that I've seen separate men with average physiques who still look really good and feel really good, but, are still pretty average, and the men that have really reached that next level when it comes to their physique and who have completely mastered their mind and body and have that aura when they walk into a room that's like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy is powerful. That man that demands respect in every room that he walks into. And this is the big thing that separates the men who take the gym seriously, are really passionate about it, and work hard, and the men that do all of that but just really look significantly better. And this is mastering your cravings. So many men are super dialed in the gym, and even when it comes to their diet, but will slip up when it comes to, having a dessert or eating out once a week, just something that doesn't seem like a big deal, but ends up pulling them away from their goals in the long run. So in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 kind of mindset shifts you need to make to truly master your cravings and have that under control and become the most locked in, best looking guy that you possibly can without it being like difficult or unrealistic. So let's get right into it. All right, so number one is understanding you're not hungry, you're just reacting. So most cravings aren't actually your physical hunger, but they're just a fill-in. They come when you're bored, when you're stressed, or when you're tired. If you don't recognize that, you're gonna keep eating food even when your body doesn't need it. So this will be habits that you have in place that you don't even notice you have, but you have these habits set up that lead to eating food even when you don't need to. Now the Bible says in Romans 7:19, "For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing." So this shows that it's habits that you don't actually want to be putting the junk into your body all the time or getting off track with your diet, but it's just a habit that's been set in place that you haven't been able to break free of yet. And the Bible also shows how extreme this can get and how it can truly be dangerous. Esau gave up his birthright in the Bible for one meal. One moment of just craving something costed him something permanent. And this is ultimately what happens when you choose comfort over purpose, whenever you're eating just to please your body and not eating to fuel your body for a higher purpose than yourself. All right, so how do you break free in this area? Because understanding that is great, but how do you actually apply it? Well, here's the challenge for you. Figure out 3 cravings that you have every day and when they happen. So that will be, when are you craving something? What do you feel whenever you're craving it? Like, what's the reason that you are? Maybe that's boredom, maybe it's habit, maybe it's stress, maybe it's being tired. And then think this, am I actually hungry or am I just reacting to it? Because chances are you're just reacting and trying to comfort yourself or, just make yourself happy, and you're not actually hungry and you don't actually need the food. Because not every craving actually deserves a response. Sometimes it's just there out of habit, and you have to learn how to replace it with other habits and take a step back from it so that you don't fall to that craving. And that's exactly what we're going to go over next. All right, step 2 is realizing that the reason you keep falling to those cravings isn't because you lack discipline, it's because you actually lack the structure it keeps to stay locked in. You fail when you decide what to eat right in the moment because your willpower isn't strong enough to prevent that. But structure is going to remove that weakness and make it to where you don't have any choice but to stay locked in on your diet. Matthew 26:41 says, "The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And you can see this with really any entrepreneur. They can't solely rely on their motivation like they do at the start, but eventually they learn to set up systems where they have to hold themselves accountable and don't have any choice to fail or to fall to a temptation. They have the system set in place so that whether they feel like it or not, they're going to do what they need to do, just no matter what. So I challenge you to ask yourself, when am I making food decisions on the spot? And what situations do I get into that ultimately lead me to mess up? And once you've realized this, you need to pick 2 to 3 meals that you're going to stay consistent on every day. I like meal prepping them at the beginning of the week. You can make them in the moment too, although that will add more friction and make it more difficult to stay locked in. But you want to keep the food simple and have it planned ahead so that you're not relying on willpower. If you have the option between cooking a big healthy meal and having the tub of ice cream, you're obviously going to go for the ice cream. So you want to have the meals already planned and set out for you so that when you're hungry, you automatically go to the healthy thing and not the unhealthy thing that's going to drag you away from your goals. So you need to understand that you don't have to rely on discipline to stay locked in with your diet. You have to remove the need for relying on discipline. You need to have the system set up so that you don't even need to think about being disciplined. It's just automatically going off in your brain that it's time to eat this meal and not this bad food. All right, next, step 3 is that cravings feel urgent in the moment, but they pass. So like the literal definition of cravings is your body telling you that you need something right now and that it can't wait. But this is temporary, and it's usually rooted out of habit and not actually your body telling you that you need nutrients. Now, if you were to go on a few days of a fast, you'd be craving food because your body actually needs the nutrients. But in this case, it's just out of habit because you've trained your brain to crave sugar and, want sugar or want that processed food. But these feelings are temporary, and if you wait, they're gonna all go away. The Bible says in James 4:7 to resist the devil and he will flee from you. So the more you train yourself to resist those temptations, the easier it's gonna become every time. There's gonna be a phase where it's really hard at first, and it's actually gonna get harder because your body starts freaking out. But once you can get over that, maybe 1-2 week hump, it's gonna become substantially easier as you go on. And eventually you'll get to a point where that food doesn't even sound good anymore, where you'd much rather have, a healthy steak and rice bowl instead of a bowl of ice cream or, a burger from In-N-Out or something like that. So in the Bible, Jesus was tempted in the wilderness after going on a fast for a long time, but he didn't give in to that temptation. Now, he didn't need the feeling to disappear, and I'm sure that feeling didn't disappear. He was hungry that whole time, but he just didn't act on it. So think about the past few times that you fall into your craving and eaten something you didn't want to. Did you ever actually try to wait it out, or did you just think that ice cream looks good, I'll have it, I'm craving it, I'm gonna have it? Or did you wait a little bit to let that moment pass and really think logically about, is this gonna be the right decision or not? Because it is the easy decision, but is it the right one? And that takes time to think of that. So when those cravings hit, I challenge you to, take a step back, drink some water, move your body around, go on a 10-minute walk, something like that, and wait 10 minutes before deciding to eat that food. Because I guarantee you 9.9 times out of 10, you don't actually need the food. Your body's just craving it because it wants it. And most of those cravings are going to pass, and you're going to choose a food that's healthier, that's more locked in to your meal plan. The key point here is that you don't have to act on your cravings immediately. All right, step 4 is understanding that food is fuel and not entertainment. If you treat food as entertainment, you're always going to overeat because your body's going to never be satisfied. It's like if you're starting a business and chasing money. Every entrepreneur ever has said that the money doesn't make them happy, and that's because they keep chasing that next level and never actually get satisfied. And it's the same with your diet. If you're eating just for entertainment, your body's going to keep craving more and more, build up that tolerance and that baseline to where you need more food every time, and it's just going to be impossible to break the cycle. Now, if you treat food as fuel to fuel your body to do good work, to do the Lord's work, to pursue your purpose, your body's going to change and adapt to that. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. And that really shows that eating and drinking is meant to honor God and ultimately serve his purpose and serve the calling that you have in your life and the purpose that is in your life, as opposed to just eating to feel good and for entertainment. Now, a serious athlete who's locked in on a plan to, become a D1 athlete or a professional athlete, they're not eating based on their cravings. They're looking towards that higher goal, and they know that if they have that bowl of ice cream, that's going to slow down their recovery, slow down their performance and prevent them from getting to that next level. So they don't eat based off their cravings, they eat based off performance. Now, you may want to have a great physique, but your eating is going to reflect what you truly want. And if you want to get to that next level, you have to treat it like those athletes where it's just a non-negotiable. For some reason, so many guys in the gym treat it as something that they can cheat on a lot of the time, but you have to view it like everything else. If you were that athlete, are you going to take one day off just because it's not a big deal? If you're trying to become the best, if you're trying to become the Tom Brady or Shohei Ohtani or LeBron James, then you're going to work towards that every day, and you're not even going to consider taking a day off. All right, so before every meal, ask if this meal is actually helping or hurting your goal. For example, a bowl of steak and rice with some vegetables is probably helping your goal because it's giving yourself the proper protein and fuel you need to get shredded and get jacked. But if you're having a couple burgers from In-N-Out, that's not helping your goal because it's going to put on fat, it's not going to digest well, so you're going to feel sluggish after. So you need to prioritize protein and whole foods in every meal and deal with those first before you add in other stuff. So understand that food is fuel and not entertainment. Now, step 5 is that you act based off your identity. You have to understand you don't struggle with mastering your cravings. You don't struggle with eating junk food. You repeat the identity that you believe about yourself. Let me explain. Now, Galatians 5:16 says, walk by the Spirit and you will not gratify the desires of your flesh. So it shouldn't be a debate in your head about what to eat. You should already know who you are and what you need to eat to become that best version of yourself. This is when the discipline becomes automatic and becomes a non-negotiable every single day. So understand, what identity are you living out right now? What are you telling yourself? What lies are you telling yourself that you need to break away from to get to that next level? What would the disciplined version of you, what would that future version that you're working for do today in this moment? Not what do you currently do, what will you do once you've mastered this? And then become that person today. Do that today. So start telling yourself the truth of who you're becoming and not the truth of where you're at and what you're struggling with. And then act on that daily. Let your actions reinforce your identity every single day, not the other way around. You have to act like the man that you're becoming. You know, you don't become that man by dreaming about it and planning and thinking about it. You become that man by acting like that person today when you're not at that level yet. All right, step 6 is understanding that every single choice has a trade-off. Now, every time you eat food, you're either choosing short-term pleasure or long-term results. You can't get both at the same time. It's impossible. Until you get to that point where you truly enjoy the healthy food, like where I'm at, where I look forward to my bowl of ground beef just because I know it's going to fuel me. And honestly, it tastes pretty good to me now because I've trained myself on that. Now, Galatians 6:8 says, "Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction." So you have to, choose the discipline when it's uncomfortable. This is what will separate you from all the other men who are just as motivated as you, but lack the structure and lack the motivation. In the Rocky movies, Rocky deals with a lot of struggles with like his family and friends and a bunch of drama outside of his actual boxing that could pull him away from truly achieving his goals. But they don't hinder his consistency with training because he has his entire plan so locked in that he knows that every choice he makes that doesn't line up with that is going to negatively affect him in the long run. So you ultimately have to pick, do I want to feel good for the next, 10 minutes eating this bowl of ice cream? Or do I want the long-term results of the shredded six-pack that turns heads at the beach, that demands respect when you walk into every room? So what habits are you choosing daily without even thinking? And do those habits, do those actions really match what you actually want to do with yourself? Before eating something impulsively, pause and ask yourself if it's worth it or if it's actually slowing down your process, because there's a really good chance that it's slowing it down and hindering it. So every choice either builds or breaks your physique, and very rarely can they do both until you've trained yourself to stop treating food as pleasure and start treating it as fuel. All right, so what are the key takeaways from this video that you can apply today? Step 1, eat meals that you plan ahead of time. I personally do all my meal prep on Sunday so that I'm locked in for the entire week without any struggles. And you want to center every meal around getting in protein, because that's the most important part of building a physique, as I'm sure you know if you're still watching this video. And if you lock in your protein first, everything can get built around that. And that's how it stays healthy. You need to delay your cravings instead of reacting. Take a moment to acknowledge that that feeling is there, and then step away from it for a few minutes and really truly analyze, is this actually something I need or just something I want? And then control your environment. Have systems set in place where you don't even have the option to eat the junk food. That may mean throwing out the bag of chips that's been in your pantry or throwing out that ice cream. I had to go through my whole pantry when I really got serious and wanted to get shredded and just throw out everything that wasn't lining up with those goals. Yes, it wasted the money, but it was saving my health in the long run. And then make decisions based off of the long-term goal and what you want to be in the future, not how you feel in the present. If you do everything working towards a bigger goal than yourself, you're going to be able to stay locked in, and you're going to truly have a reason and a purpose to become that best version of yourself. Now, if you're still watching this, I hope this really impacted you, but you may still feel stuck. You may have already known all of this coming into the video, but ultimately, if you're here, it's not something that you've mastered yet, and it's not that you lack the knowledge, you lack the structure that it takes to truly reach that next level. And that's exactly what I help men like you do. My goal is to help motivated men truly hit that next level when it comes to their diet and their training, and ultimately get that confidence that they have wanted for so long, and get it while staying rooted in Christ and doing it all for God's glory. So if you're ready to take the next steps to truly lock in your diet, master your discipline, and get the physique of your dreams, go ahead and book a call down below with me. It'll be a one-on-one call where we can just go over the next steps to truly getting you to that next level and seeing if we're a good fit to work together. So go ahead and like this video if you got something out of it. It'll push it to more people like you who need to hear the same message. And go ahead and subscribe, because I'll continue to post videos about, mindset, diet, training, just everything men like you and me struggle with or want to perfect. Thanks again for watching. See y'all in the next one.